So how much time do you spend at the other jobs if you spend every day at the State Department?
Well, now you know I can't offer you 8 hours today to answer every question on this committee, which you were complaining about earlier. Look,
I mean, the crossings have gone down 95%. There's no longer catch and release. Sir, can you tell me how this would assist you with respect to reorganization of these important agencies under your department?
well, I think the key to reorganization, and by the way, we never did it in all the years that I was in the Senate either. It never happened. It needs to happen. We want it to happen. As you know, in our reorganization, we didn't touch any of the statutory offices because we can't. But there's two advantages to it, or three advantages. The first is it becomes permanent. We can create an organizational structure that becomes enduring, especially if it's one that we believe in. Second, I think that it will help us with the input and ideas. Look, we notified, it wasn't intended, we provided the initial preliminary indication to Congress. We've been taking input, including from many on the minority. And some of those are going to be reflected when we put out our final approach that we want to take. But ultimately, we would love to work with the committee to find ways to improve on the streamlining. By the way, we're also taking input from inside our building. Some of the ideas in our reorg, many of the ideas from our reorg, came from inside the State Department, from career officials, including some that are still providing input for us in sort of how to structure it. But I think the advantage of doing it statutorily is that it becomes enduring and permanent, and provide certainty in the days to come. Otherwise, it can change over time and continue to bloat and expand to levels that it got to. It was an unreadable org chart. The org chart that I showed, the initial org chart that I inherited was just the top line. Within each one of those boxes, there were multiple boxes, some of them duplicative, redundant. Many cases, no one could even tell us what they were doing because it's easy to grow. It's much harder to reorganize and to streamline activity, and that's what we want to do.
Well, it's a very noble effort. With my 1 minute remaining, I authorized the Remain in Mexico program in this committee. I commend the administration. Within a matter of months, have restored order to the border, taken chaos and turned it into a safe border. I mean, the crossings have gone down 95%. There's no longer catch and release. And I do think the executive order on Remain in Mexico is very important. I know you share that responsibility with the Department of Homeland Security, a committee I chaired as well. What is the latest in your negotiations with Mexico to bring that important program back?
Well, as you are aware, I'm sure that we've had a number of what I would call both irritants, but also areas of cooperation with the Mexican government. It's been actually pretty positive. They have been very responsive on our security concerns. They've increased their security cooperation with us in ways that have been very productive. In fact, at some point here over the next few weeks, I intend to travel potentially to Mexico along with a couple other cabinet members to sort of finalize some of these areas of cooperation. This may be one we talk about, but we've been primarily focused with Mexico on two things. One is on trade, which is not my department, but obviously our trade representative, Mr. Greer, and also the Commerce Secretary Lutnick's been engaging with them. And then the other is on security cooperation. We have a mutual interest in Mexico. In essence, the cartels that operate within Mexico and threaten the state are armed from weapons that are bought in the United States and shipped there. We want to help stop that flow. The reverse is those cartels threaten the state. There are parts of Mexico that are governed by cartels where there is, in fact, I think I heard last night 2 more people were murdered in Mexico City associated with the mayor of Mexico City. The political violence there is real. They have a vested interest and a desire to go after these cartels, and we want to help equip them and provide them information. They've also been increasingly cooperative more than ever before in bringing back and extraditing people wanted in this country for crimes who are in their custody. So I think we've got good areas of cooperation. We still have some more work to do on migration, but they've been cooperative.
Chair now recognizes Ranking Member Meeks.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure something out. I know you said you read a lot of cables every day, and I know that when you first got sworn in at your confirmation hearing, you stated that being the Secretary of State would be an extraordinary responsibility. Here we are 4 minutes later, but reading cables every day. How much time do you spend at the State Department?
How much what?
How much? How
I
focused at the State Department?
Almost every day if I'm in the country. It's part of the job.
I agree. I understand. But now you have 4 jobs, don't you? Now you're not only the Secretary of State, you are also the acting USAID administrator. You're also the acting archivist. You're also the interim security advisor. You cannot spend every day at the state and then neglect your other jobs that you have the responsibility to do. So how much time do you spend at the other jobs if you spend every day at the State Department?
Well, now you know I can't offer you 8 hours today to answer every question on this committee, which you were complaining about earlier. Look, here's the thing. All those jobs are being done. USAID largely has been folded into... Do you want my answer? Do you want to...
No, I just want to know this. Did you anticipate or did you want, when you were sworn in to be the Secretary of State, do you want to have the jobs of USAID administrator?
No, I did not apply for those jobs.
Did not apply
I was
for them.
asked to serve in those roles, and I'm happy to do it. The archives are doing great. The USAID has been folded under state, so it's a sort of a duplicative role. And the National Security Advisor, which is on an interim basis, has tremendous overlap with what we're doing at the State Department.
Well, then why not get rid of all of them and just put everything under you? Get rid of all those departments. If it's not crucial to have someone every day at the as a National Security Advisor, you folded in USAID, you saying the archives is fine, get rid of them. Wouldn't that be then waste? Based upon how you have determined there's waste, based upon your testimony earlier, and some of these other departments, they were duplicative. So if it's duplicative, then get rid of them.
Well, you would have to pass a law to do that if you want to combine those 4 offices in your reorg.
Well, look, that hasn't stopped you in the past because the law requires you to consult with Congress on any proposed reorganization of USAID or the State Department. That hasn't happened. I agree. It should be the Congress's responsibility. Your staff claimed, quote, that you've extensively consulted Congress on your plan to fold USAID into state. But that did not happen. All we members have gotten was 1 hour of a meeting with Pete Morocco, who you later fired and who couldn't answer our most basic questions about the aid freeze. And you've ignored thus far. That's why I want to know about you've ignored nearly 20 letters from this committee seeking information about who, since you took office, as well as, not, we spoke one time, but not consulting this committee at all. I don't call that extensive consultation. So you're right. Things that you've done should be in collaboration with the United States Congress. But surely the USAID and all of these other things was not, Congress was not consulted one time. Senator Rubio would have demanded it.
Well, we've complied with every part of the law. Every single part of the law has been complied with, including, you, for example, have written us 16 letters. You've been briefed on 7 of them. Some of them we couldn't answer, and we told you why we couldn't answer, because they were subject to litigation. 4, you've gotten answers in writing, and 5 we've gotten just in the last few days. Well, 16 letters. I've been there 17 weeks. You write me a letter a week.
I'm going to yield my last 48 seconds to Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Rubio, thank you for being here. Corruption is determined by our democracy, is detrimental to our democracy, and the Trump administration has moved swiftly to scale back, reverse, and dismantle various guardrails that protect Americans from corruption. We have now a plane that he's accepting by a foreign government. His family is doing business deals with a foreign government. And your office has authorized Elon Musk company Starlink to do business in at least 5 African countries and many, many others. My question is, with the dismantling of the enforcement of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and many other things, what efforts are you doing as Secretary of State to make sure that our government is free from improper foreign influence over our policy?
I mean, the examples you've given, Starlink's all over the world. There isn't a country in the world now that doesn't have Starlink for the most part. They have Starlink in Syria. We certainly didn't help them land that deal, but they've got Starlink's a global company that's present everywhere and continues to grow because they provide a very unique service no one else provides. I'm not aware of any plane that's been given. I know the media reports about it. I know that the Air Force One that's scheduled to be delivered is like 5 years off balance. So they went to Boeing, and this is the extent of what I know about this plane. I've never seen it. They went to Boeing and said, are there any planes that fit the bill? Boeing produced a list of planes that they'd sold over the last few years. One of them happened to be a Qatar. You'd have to ask the Department of Defense, because that would go to the Air Force. That would not come to the State Department. Beyond that, look, we're involved in helping businesses expand all over the world. There isn't a single day that we aren't involved in helping an American company gain access to a market, and we'll continue to do so. As far as people involved in our government that are doing that, I'm not aware of anyone on the cabinet or in the president's White House that's using the State Department to expand their personal portfolio. And if they are, we wouldn't help them do that. But no one's ever asked us to do that. So I think we're following the law with regards to what we're doing to prevent corruption.
So is the answer to
Chair
my-
recognizes Representative Smith from New Jersey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, it was an honor, Mr. Secretary, to serve with you as co-chair of the China Commission. We did so much together. I want to thank you for that leadership. It was extraordinary. I want to thank you for bringing the DR Congo and Rwanda together on April 25th for that statement of principles. You are tenaciously pursuing peace all over the planet, including in DR Congo, where the fighting is very intense, and has been. And of course, tomorrow I have a big hearing on Congo, on Sudan. And I know you're trying to do everything you can to try to mitigate the horrific violence that is occurring there. Let me just ask you a couple of questions, if I could. I had a hearing on Aliyev and Azerbaijan on the Tom Lantos Commission, and it's very clear that after the genocide committed by Aliyev against the Armenians, that there are many, many political prisoners and POWs being held. I would just encourage you to do whatever you can to get those men and women released, at least 300. I met with Aliyev twice in Baku. He's a dictator. I know we work with dictators and we have to have at least some kind of conversation with them, but release those prisoners. They're being maltreated and horribly mistreated by Aliyev, so I would ask for that. Secondly, you and I have worked on issues like forced organ harvesting. You and Tom Cotton were the prime sponsors of a bill on the Senate side. 2 weeks ago, we got the bill passed here again. It is a horrific human rights abuse by Xi Jinping, targeting the Uyghurs, of course, the Muslim Uyghurs, because those organs are being sold in the Middle East. So they want to have livers that are coming from a Muslim. So the market is very, very high, livers and other internal organs. And Xi Jinping is making billions by killing tens of thousands of young people, average age 28, each and every year. Falun Gong, and you know it, you're the sponsor of the bill. I would appeal to you, if you could. It passed the House 406-1. If we could get it out of the Senate, it would hopefully clamp down on this egregious human rights abuse in China. And it's a global bill. It would outlaw forced organ harvesting profoundly, with real penalties up to 20 years in prison for those who are part of that supply chain. But it would most directly affect Xi Jinping and the people who are doing this horrific abuse. I yield.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. On obviously the organ harvesting, China plays a concerning role in that regard, and we would obviously be helpful in any way we can in helping you pass that in the Senate, certainly putting a good word for it and the like. But it's not limited to China, unfortunately. There are other parts of the world where we're now seeing that, and there are places where we're trying to verify, but we hear reports of that. And that's something that's need to be called out as well. As far as Azerbaijan is concerned, our core focus has been on trying to establish a peace between Azerbaijan and Armenia. There's a real risk there of a conflict that we're trying to prevent from happening. Our teams have been very engaged in that regard. And
The United Nations, where the UN Human Rights Council is filled to overflowing with people in agency positions, not just the members of it,